There are no coincidences in the kingdom of heaven. There are only appointments. And the voice of the Lord has spoken. Chosen one, prepare for the 5th of May, not tomorrow, not someday, but the 5th of May, the day appointed, the day sealed. For what is coming is not ordinary, and you were not chosen for ordinary. Before the foundations of the world were laid, before the first star was hung in the heavens, God had already set in motion the times and seasons of destiny. He is not a God of chaos, but of divine order. He declares the end from the beginning, and every moment he ordains carries weight, carries intention, carries eternity wrapped in time. In the realm of the Spirit, there are no accidents, only appointments. Moments when heaven touches earth, moments when the natural is interrupted by the supernatural. Throughout Scripture, we see these divine appointments unfold with prophetic precision. Abraham stood at the threshold of Moriah on a specific day, not just to climb a mountain, but to meet the God who provides. Moses was not wandering in the wilderness when he encountered the burning bush. He was walking toward a moment appointed before he was even born. Israel did not leave Egypt on any random night, but on the night foretold, the night of the Passover, when the blood on the doorpost marked the beginning of a nation's deliverance. These appointments are not only for the prophets of old, they are for now, for the chosen, for those who have been set apart for such a time as this. The calendar of man ticks on with routine, but the calendar of heaven is alive with meaning. When God speaks a date, it is not a suggestion, it is a summons. A heavenly summons to attention, to awareness, to alignment. He moves in patterns, in cycles, in rhythms known only to those who listen. And when he says prepare, it is not to be taken lightly. It is not a word to be shelved or delayed. It is a signal, a trumpet blast in the Spirit. He does nothing without revealing it to his servants, the prophets. And when he marks a date, it is because something is about to shift, something is about to be birthed, something is about to be released that will affect everything that follows. The 5th of May is such a moment, not a coincidence, not a number on a page, but a divine marker, a hinge in the unseen realm upon which a door swings open. And the ones he has chosen, the ones he is calling, must be ready to walk through that door, not in fear, not in doubt, but in full awareness that they were born for this very hour. There comes a time when the silence can no longer be tolerated, when the stillness begins to tremble with divine urgency. It is the moment when God begins to stir his people, when the voice that once whispered now thunders, a time when what was once tolerated in the darkness is exposed by the light, and the slumbering are shaken. The call to awakening is not gentle, it is disruptive. It comes like the cry at midnight, like the sudden blast of a trumpet in the stillness. It is the voice that pierces through the numbness of apathy, through the fog of distraction, through the chains of complacency. The Spirit of the Lord is crying out, not to the multitudes, but to the remnant, to the few whose ears have not been dulled, whose hearts still burn, whose eyes are still searching the heavens for signs. It is a call not just to open the eyes, but to see, not just to listen, but to discern, not just to wake, but to rise. For too long, many have walked as though asleep, living, but not alive, hearing sermons, but not hearing the voice, singing songs, but not entering the presence. It is not enough to be awake in body. God is calling for a spiritual awakening, a soul that is alert, a heart that is aflame. The times are urgent. The night is far spent and the day is at hand. The world is shifting. Foundations are trembling, and yet many continue as though nothing is changing. But the Spirit says otherwise. The shaking is not the enemy's doing. It is the Lord preparing his people. And the call is going forth, reaching deep into the bones, into the marrow, into the innermost places that have been asleep for far too long. There is no more time for delay, no more room for half measures. The watchmen must take their posts. The intercessors must lift their voices. The chosen must come out from among them and be separate. The call is personal. It will not come with thunder to all, but it will come with fire to the few. It will come in the early hours when no one else is watching, in the quiet moments when the world is still. It will come in the form of conviction, of restlessness, of holy discomfort. It will not let you go, because the Spirit of the Lord is relentless when he begins to stir the chosen. The call is not to the proud, but to the willing, not to the strong, but to the surrendered. And those who respond will find themselves standing in places they never imagined, carrying burdens they never thought they could bear, moving in authority they never realized they possessed. To awaken is to return to the first love, Return to the ancient paths. Return to the place where the voice of God is louder than the noise of culture, where his presence is more real than the distraction of the world. The call to awakening is the first step in the preparation, and only those who answer it will be ready for what is to come. There is a pattern in the fabric of creation, woven not by accident, but by divine intention. The fifth day, often passed over, often unnoticed, is not ordinary. In the order of creation, it is the day when life was stirred into motion, when the still waters were suddenly teeming with movement, when the skies that had hung silent were filled with the sound of wings. It was the day when God spoke again, and his voice did not merely form, his voice filled. The waters brought forth abundance, and the heavens echoed with life. It was a day not of structure, but of vitality, not of form, but of flow, a day that marked the transition from stillness to movement, from silence to sound, from emptiness to overflow. And this is no small detail. God could have made all things in a moment, in a breath, but he chose 6 days, and he assigned purpose to each. The fifth day, in its essence, is the day of divine release. It is a day that speaks of preparation bearing fruit, of a world once being formed, now beginning to live, and not just live, but multiply, swarm, fly, fill. The language of the fifth day is the language of abundance. Let the waters abound, he said. Let the birds fly across the heavens. It was not a whisper, it was a command of overflow. And when he saw it, he said it was good. In the Hebrew understanding, the number 5 is the number of grace. It is the number that signifies favor given, not earned. Power released, not deserved. 5 loaves fed thousands. 5 fingers anoint, build, and bless. And on the fifth day of creation, grace appeared not as an abstract idea, but as the evidence of divine generosity and life-giving force. It was grace that brought life into the deep and flight into the sky. And this same grace speaks now, not as history, but as prophecy. So the mystery of the fifth day is that it holds a mirror to what God is doing. Again, just as he moved in the deep once, he is about to move again. Just as he filled what was empty, he is about to release fullness. The date marked as the 5th of May is not coincidental. It carries the echoes of that original day, that moment in creation when heaven touched the waters and the skies were stirred. It is a prophetic alignment, a parallel moment in the spirit where what was once natural becomes deeply spiritual. When God points to a number, a date, a season, it is because he is inviting us to look deeper, to see not just the surface, but the significance. And the fifth day is rich with hidden meaning. It is a day of movement for the chosen, a day of stirring for the still, a day of abundance for the prepared. It is the moment where the unseen begins to manifest, where preparation meets release, and where the grace of God begins to move like wind over the waters, carrying purpose, calling, and power to those ready to receive it. There is a battle raging that cannot be seen with the natural eye, yet its effects are felt in every realm of life, in the shaking of nations, the confusion of minds, the corruption of truth, and the trembling of hearts. It is not a battle of flesh and blood, but of spirit and truth, of light against darkness, of the eternal against the temporal. This war is not new. It began long before time was measured, when one exalted himself against the Most High, and it has continued through every generation. But in this hour, it is intensifying. The line between good and evil is no longer blurred. It is being drawn with fire. And the chosen must be ready to stand in the midst of it. Remember with me here, Satan, the Spirit of the Lord, is calling for separation, not in arrogance. The days of compromise are over. The age of neutrality has passed. In the realm of the Spirit, there is no middle ground. You cannot fight the darkness if you are flirting with its shadows. You cannot declare truth while embracing lies. And so the Spirit of the Lord is calling for separation, not in arrogance, but in consecration, not in judgment, but in purity. The chosen are being called to come out from among them, not in physical distance, but in spiritual distinction. Spiritual warfare is not simply praying louder or resisting harder. It is the alignment of your entire life with the purposes of God. It is living in such a way that the enemy sees you and trembles, not because of your strength, but because of the authority you carry. But authority only flows through obedience, and obedience demands separation. A tearing away from what is impure, a severing of soul ties with the world, a cleansing of hands and a purifying of hearts. In this warfare, the weapons are not carnal, They are not arguments or opinions or clever strategies. They are the weapons of the Spirit: truth, righteousness, faith, salvation, the Word of God, and the fire of prayer. And they are only powerful in the hands of those who are willing to be wholly His. The enemy is not threatened by a believer who looks like the world, talks like the world, and walks like the world, but he is terrified of one who is set apart, marked by fire, filled with truth, and led by the Spirit. There is a cost to this calling. Separation is never easy. It means letting go of what is comfortable, familiar, and even cherished. It means standing when others bow, speaking when others are silent, walking away when others stay. But in the realm of spiritual warfare, separation is not rejection, it is preparation. It is the process by which God refines His warriors, sharpens their swords, and clothes them in power. And those who respond, those who are willing to be different, to be holy, to be true, will not only survive the war, they will overcome it. Not by might, nor by power, but by His Spirit. For in the final hour, God is not looking for a crowd. He is calling forth an army, and that army will be made up not of the impressive, but of the obedient. Not the popular, but the pure. Not the many, but the separate. There are moments in history when the voice of God calls louder than the noise of the world, when His Spirit beckons His people to step away from the common, the distracted, the polluted, and return to the sacred. This is such a moment, a time not for celebration, but for consecration, a time to turn aside from the clamor of culture and bow before the holiness of God. The Spirit is moving, and He is not looking for those who are talented, clever, or strong. He is seeking those who are clean, those who have emptied themselves of the world so they might be filled with the fire of heaven. Consecration is not about legalism. It is not about performance or piety for the sake of appearance. It is about surrender. It is about removing what is unworthy so that what is holy can remain. It is the cleansing of the vessel so the oil can be poured without mixture. It is the return to the altar, not with half-hearted offerings, but with living sacrifices, the kind that cost, the kind that burn, the kind that are not taken back once given. In the days of old, before the priest could minister, before the prophet could speak, before the people could move forward, there had to be consecration. They washed, they waited, they listened, they stripped away everything that defiled. They touched no unclean thing. They didn't rush into God's presence as if He were common. They prepared themselves to meet the Holy One. And so must we. The hour is too late for compromise, the darkness too deep for diluted devotion. God is not calling for more activity. He is calling for greater purity. He is calling His chosen ones to set themselves apart, to come away from the noise and the corruption, to wash in His word, to be clothed not in opinion, but in righteousness. It is a call to go higher, and higher ground demands cleaner hands. This consecration is not only individual, it is prophetic. It is preparation for what is coming. Just as Israel consecrated themselves before crossing the Jordan, just as the disciples waited in the upper room before the outpouring of the Spirit, so now there must be a setting apart for the appointed time. For what God is about to release will not fall on the profane. It will not be poured into vessels still tied to Egypt. Isn't far-fetched. It will descend on those who have counted the cost, who have left the familiar, who have purified their hearts in the secret place. Consecration is the language of intimacy. It is saying to God, you can have all of me. No more divided heart, no more hidden sin, no more mixture. It is returning to the fire of first love, to holiness that is not shame-based, but Spirit-born. It is a time when the chosen ones stop trying to fit in and start living, set apart, marked by the presence, distinguished by the fear of the Lord, and driven by the longing to please Him alone. For what is coming will not be sustained by charisma or crowds, but by consecrated hearts that tremble at His word. From the beginning, God has spoken through the mouth of His prophets, not vague words, not empty predictions, but declarations sealed in heaven and destined to manifest on earth. His word never returns void. What He speaks is not merely for comfort or curiosity, it is for fulfillment. Every prophecy is a seed sown into time, waiting for its appointed season to break forth. And when the season arrives, heaven and earth move in alignment to bring it to pass. We are now entering such a season, a time not of speculation, but of manifestation. A moment when what has long been foretold begins to unfold. Prophetic fulfillment does not come because man wills it or because the circumstances align by chance. It comes because God has already decreed it. His timing is perfect. His calendar is not subject to the chaos of the world. While kingdoms rise and fall, his word remains unshaken. What was spoken in the secret place, what was whispered to the faithful, what was recorded in scripture and sealed in vision, it is now being unlocked. The scrolls of heaven are opening and the events long hidden are coming into view. This is why the chosen must be awake, alert, and aligned, for fulfillment is not merely about observing what God does, it is about participating in it. When prophecy begins to manifest, those who are consecrated will recognize it, and they will move in step with the Spirit. They will not be surprised because they have been watching. They will not be shaken because they have been prepared. The fulfillment of prophecy is not only for the glory of God, it is also a signpost for his people, a call to readiness, a summons to obedience. What was once spoken over a generation, a nation, a remnant, those words are now approaching their hour of realization. The signs are not just increasing in frequency, they are converging. Prophetic threads that seemed isolated are now weaving together into a single tapestry. And in this convergence, the chosen must discern the season, for prophecy is not static. It is alive, it breathes, it burns, it waits for a vessel through which to be fulfilled. There are words that have lingered for decades, words of revival, of shaking, of outpouring, of judgment, of awakening. These are not myths. They are divine decrees, and their time is near. Even now, the Spirit is hovering over the deep, waiting for the voice of agreement from the earth. The prophetic is not passive. It demands response. It calls for alignment. It requires that the people of God step into the flow of what heaven is doing, not clinging to the past, not distracted by the present, but pressing into the fulfillment that is breaking forth. Prophetic fulfillment also separates, it distinguishes those who have ears to hear from those who dismiss the signs. It reveals the hearts of men. When what was prophesied begins to take shape, those who walk by faith will rejoice, and those who walked in doubt will be exposed. For the fulfillment of prophecy is not only a moment of glory, it is a moment of reckoning. And so this is the hour not just to remember the words spoken, but to war with them, to decree them, to stand upon them, to expect them. For the same God who fulfilled his word to Abraham, to Joseph, to Daniel, to Mary, to John, he is fulfilling his word again. The time of delay is ending. The days of waiting are reaching their close. And the voice that once declared the end from the beginning is now stirring the earth once more, so that what he has spoken might now come to pass. There has always been a remnant in every age of darkness, in every season of rebellion. When the multitude bowed to idols and truth was cast to the ground, there remained a people, small in number but mighty in spirit. They were not chosen by men, not lifted by the approval of crowds, but marked by God, set apart, hidden in caves, wandering the wilderness, yet carrying the fire that would not go out. The remnant has never been the majority, but they have always carried the weight of heaven's purpose. Now, once again, the Spirit is stirring the remnant. The call has gone forth, not to the famous, not to the polished, not to the ones seated in places of power, but to the faithful, those who have walked through the fire and did not bow, those who were overlooked by men but seen by God, those who wept in secret for a generation gone astray. They are rising, not with noise or spectacle, but with authority born in the secret place. This is not the rise of a movement, but of a people, not organized by man, but orchestrated by God. The remnant is not defined by appearance or platform, but by purity and obedience. They are those who have refused to be defiled by the world's compromise, who have not sold their birthright for comfort or applause. They walk in covenant, not convenience. They speak truth even when it costs them everything. They are the ones who, like Elijah, stood alone and still would not bow, like Jeremiah, wept for the sins of the people, like Esther, risked all for the sake of the call, like Daniel, refused to eat the king's food. They are those who carry the ancient fire in a modern age. This remnant has been in hiding, in waiting, in formation. The world did not see them, and the church often ignored them. But God was shaping them, refining them, preparing them for an hour when compromise would collapse and the counterfeit would fall. And now that hour has come, the shaking has begun, and in the shaking the true are being revealed. What was hidden is being uncovered, the lowly are being lifted, the humble are being empowered, the nameless are being anointed. The rise of the remnant is not for spectacle, it is for war. They rise not with pride, but with brokenness, not with self-promotion, but with a prophetic burden. They are watchmen on the wall, intercessors in the night, voices crying in the wilderness. They carry a different spirit. They are not swayed by trends or seduced by culture. They have been ruined for ordinary, marked by holiness, driven by eternity, possessed by the fear of the Lord. This remnant is multi-generational, young and old, sons and daughters, spiritual fathers and mothers. They span nations, races, languages, but they speak the same spirit-born language of truth and righteousness. They don't look alike on the outside, but they burn with the same fire on the inside. And though they may be scattered, they are connected by the unseen hand of God. Heaven knows their names. They rise in a time of moral collapse, cultural confusion, and spiritual apathy, not to condemn, but to call, not to retreat, but to advance. They are reformers, revivalists, restorers of ancient paths. They do not come in the spirit of entertainment, but in the spirit of Elijah, to turn hearts, to break down altars, to rebuild what was torn down. They are those who will not be silenced. They will not be bought. They will not be moved, for they have seen the King, and they carry his commission. And so, chosen one, hear the sound of the trumpet. This is not just a moment. It is a divine summons. The hour is late, the battle is fierce, and the purposes of heaven are unfolding before our eyes. The call is not for the complacent, but for the consecrated. Not for the many, but for the faithful few. You were not born by accident, and you were not awakened by chance. You were chosen for this very hour. The 5th of May is not just a date on the calendar. It is a marker in the spirit, a point of alignment, a threshold. And what you do in this hour will echo beyond this day. Will you rise? Will you prepare? Will you burn away what is false and embrace what is true? The Spirit is moving. The voice is calling. The heavens are watching. God does not operate on man's calendar. His clock is not set by governments, economies, or traditions. It is set by eternity. From Genesis to Revelation, we see a pattern. He appoints moments in time for divine encounters, divine shifts, and divine purposes. These are not random. These are kairos moments, sacred intersections where heaven touches earth and destiny is revealed. When the appointed time comes, nothing can stop it. And when it passes, nothing can reclaim it. The 5th of May is not just a date, it is a signal, a whisper from the throne room, a divine appointment etched into the fabric of time for those who have ears to hear and eyes to see. Just as God called Moses to the mountain, called Abraham to leave his land, called Esther for such a time as this, he is now calling his chosen ones to recognize the hour. It may look like any other day to the world, but in the spirit, it is a portal. When your anticipation at this threshold of life is done for the first time, and what is done or not done in this moment will determine what is unlocked in the days to come. You do not choose the appointment, it chooses you. You do not make it happen, you prepare for it. Like the virgins awaiting the bridegroom, it is not enough to believe. Your lamp must be full. God does not pour out his glory on the unprepared. He moves where there is expectation, where there is consecration, where there is obedience. This is not a time to delay or debate. It is a time to discern. For when heaven sets a date, those who are asleep will miss the visitation, and those who are awake will walk into destiny. Let the remnant arise. Let the altars be rebuilt. Let the consecrated ones step forward. Let those who still believe that God speaks, that he moves, that he fulfills his word, stand firm. For what is coming will not be for the faint of heart, but for the fearless in faith. This is your moment, not to be swept away, but to stand, not to hide, but to shine, not to wonder if you're chosen, but to walk like you are. Thank you for opening your heart to receive this word. May you walk in boldness, in purity, in fire, and in faith. May you be found ready when the divine appointment arrives. May the blessing of the Lord rest upon you, and may his Spirit lead you into all truth. God said, "Chosen one, prepare. For the 5th of May